Hi, this is Dan with You Are a Drummer. I'm going to show you the basics of the matched technique right now. Traditional technique is when you hold it like this, like a military snare drummer. Your left hand's rotated differently than your right hand. Matched grip, though, is both hands the same. Now, what you need to think about is to use a loose grip, no death grips. All the movement is initiated from your wrist, not from your fingers and not from your arms. So the first movement that you want to do starts right here. And that's in preparation for your stroke. So as it comes up, initiate with your wrist and then bring it down gently. Don't force it, don't squeeze into the pad. When you hit, let the stick bounce back naturally. You can see it kind of goes up a little bit before I bring it back down. Now, as you play notes strung together, you let the rebound from the head, in this case the practice pad, turn into the upstroke of the next downstroke. So as I do this, I'm letting the rebound from the pad help me move the stick back into a ready position up here. Now notice also the stroke is straight up and down. It's not sliced like this. That's going to make you do more work than you need to. If you let it go just straight up and down, you can focus all your muscles on the downward stroke and not on keeping it in place if you were doing this. So again, my fingers, the way I'm holding the stick, the analogy I like is to hold it like you would a knife, like you're going to cut something. So you still need the dexterity to do what you want to do. The stick's in contact with my fingers the whole time, even when I'm doing this. Pretty much touches my fingers the whole time. There's a little movement because you do want the stick to be loose, but it's basically touching on my fingers the whole time. You notice my pointer finger is out a little bit versus this. And some drummers play like this, but when I play like that, I have very little. It's not as much control. It kind of chokes the sound of the stick, and it also hurts my wrist more. So nice loose grip, and you'll be able to play faster and longer, and you won't hurt yourself. One way to feel the way your wrists should be moving is if you do this, just let your wrists get all floppy. That's what they should feel like when you drum. Loosey-goosey. Another way to feel the way that should feel for your wrist, put your pointer finger all the way on top of your stick as an exercise, which forces you to use only your wrist when you make a stroke. So if you do that, you can feel you really, really have to use your wrist, and that is what it should feel like normally, even if you move your finger off the stick. So a good exercise to start out with is to play 8 eighth notes on each hand. You count eighth notes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So a 4 count measure of 4 quarter notes has 8 beats. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1. The things to think about when you're doing this exercise, again, before you start the stroke, make sure you bring it up about an eighth note ahead of time. So when you need to make a beat, you're already up here and you're ready to go, so you don't have to anticipate. Now, another thing to think about is when you're playing with your right hand, keep your left stick hovering just above the head. When you're playing with your left hand, keep your right stick hovering just above the head. This lets you always start from a neutral position. So when you're playing this hand, you don't have to spend any time thinking about where this hand is, where you're going to start your motion, because it always starts in the same place. And another thing to think about is on the last stroke of each series, so the last note of the 8th note series, don't choke it off. Let it ring like every other note. So rather than do this, when you're playing these notes, you want to make every single note sound exactly the same. So if you're using a practice pad, all areas of the pad are pretty much going to sound the same. If you use a drum head, different places are probably going to sound different. Also, if your sticks are, they don't match, so if one's more worn than the other, or they're just too different, they're going to make two different sounds. So if you can, try to get sticks that sound the same, so when you're playing, you can listen to your beats and fix the way your technique and the way your approach is to make the beats sound consistent and the same. The thing you should also do that I'm not doing right now is you should always use a metronome. I'm going to redo this video, and I will be using a metronome. So this is just to get a video on the site, because I have nothing right now. It's all written advice and equipment stuff. So I'll have another version. I'll have a metronome, and I'll get some sheet music for this exercise, just so you have that. So thanks for watching, and happy drumming.